Here we are in my very messy painting area, and as you can see, I have painted the gutter pieces with a nice gloss black paint. This will look really nice against the finished wood, I think. So I'm not going to mount these on there just yet. I think I'm going to go ahead and oil the wood and finish the lane first. Okay, as you can see, I have marked off the areas on the lane that are going to have the lane marks, the arrows for aiming, and the foul line about 8 inches in. Over here, I've got the pencil marks where I'm going to drill 1/2 inch holes and plug them with walnut plugs, and those will be the marks for the pins. For the marks themselves, I'm using just a simple art marker, a brown art marker. I figure brown would look all right. And I'm going to go ahead and get that done. The nice thing about this is that if it runs or spreads out on the wood, all I have to do is mask it off again and just use a fine sandpaper on the overflow. But as long as I do it right away and it doesn't sink too deep, it'll look good. I think though that this will be a good solution for the lane marks. And one more. And we can call that finished. Okay, let's take this off. See how it turned out. As you can see, there's just a little overflow on there, which I'm going to mask off and I'm going to sand. And we'll see if we can get this to be a nice crisp line. I kind of figured that the marker would sink in just a little bit, but that's all right. I think we can fix that. Well, it probably won't all come off because it sinks into the wood, but that's all right. I think you can still get it looking pretty good. Let's take a look. Oh yeah, you can see that's much better. And as you can see, the arrows came out pretty crisp. Not nearly as runny as the foul line. But that's fine. It should be good. Probably just because I didn't press down long enough. Or didn't press down so hard, I should say. So what I'm going to do is erase the pencil lines and get started on the plugs.
That's what they found near Jane Husted.
Oh.
To my luck, not this morning. Now look.
No, don't you dare go through that. Don't you go through that yard. trying to find something.
He was crazy. He killed all the girls. It's over, man. It's over. It's all over now.
Congratulations, it's over. Tell her what she's won, Johnny.
My tummy.
Thank goodness you boys have a good sense of call.
What are you doing in that shit?
Well, that was fun.
Yeah, good.
It's an epilogue.
Hospital today. Yeah. It's our fault, isn't it?
I don't know what to say to him.
Hey, look. Lieutenant Andrews. Not a friend of yours with me.
What?
Chase West's hot rod come from.
Is it ruined the chop shop?
He first knew the bill would be paid, so he borrowed the tires to bring it to him. That's Jesus. Try out. Now, your last official act of office is to arrest that boy and bring him in. And I'll go along the mission.
Got me on that one.
Sounds like a slow version of these boots are made for walking.
Are you ready to walk, Boots? Sheriff, ready to do-si-do?
Matchbox. Save
Committee to keep rock and roll white.
Not Bill Forsyth, no, not Bill.
I have a sinking feeling.
This is really looking good. I love it. Me too.
Honey West.
Oh, like there's never been a sex scandal.
Now it's time to put on the linseed oil. The oil will protect and really bring out the colors.
No one will ever have you but me.
Ouch.
Hold on, I decided to save you.
I know it to myself, never dated in the lighthouse.
Miss Johnson, send in another fiance.
Next week on Tormented.
Okay, here we go. It's got to sink in for about 5 to 10 minutes. It's already really bringing out the color on that walnut there, and it's making the pips and everything look really good. So give it about 10 minutes, and I'm going to wipe it off, and then we will attach the gutters.
Party is literally lit. And this is Bell Center. It's 24/7 comedy delivered right to your screen.
This is the Always Funny channel.
He's being found out. He's not going to come to justice.
The stories behind the crimes.
Would he have committed the murder if it were not for social media?
The evidence suggested that it was premeditated.
People behind the stories.
She was just a joy.
Wow.
He offered her love and gave her death. All day, it was a gruesome scene. Every day.
Take a look at that.
Destination
Quite-
for true crime.
Quite nice.
Total crime.
Oh man, I got an Indian jumpsuit.
Oh, that's fantastic. Okay, it's time to put on the border of the gutters. Now, I don't know. I've been thinking about this, and I think the best way to do this, the ends are going to have to be screwed on here to give them good strength. They can't be rabbited because there's no hangover here. So, and I think for the sides, I think I'm going to do rabbit joints along here. I've been considering doing butt joints, but the problem is that if I rabbit them all the way along the ends, you're going to see, I'm going to either have to shorten these, and I'm going to have to plug the end of it where the rabbit comes over, or somehow stop the rabbit before it, makes it to the end. Otherwise, you're going to see a gap there. So I'll play around with this first. I'll try it on some scrap, and let's see how that works. Then I can glue and screw it down. Even though I really don't like screwing into plywood, it's still probably a good idea to screw or nail them down along the length. Anyway, let's try it with some scrap and see how strong it is and how well it works. Okay, off the subject, I'm going to take a second to show off my router station and table saw station. You can see all the bits and leveling or the height bars are pretty nice, and round over jigs and a homemade router table, which I'm pretty proud of. This is not my idea. This is plans that I purchased, but it has really worked well. I couldn't find a decent router table in the area. I'd have to order one, and they're really expensive, so I went this route. And cost me as much as a 2 foot by 4 foot plank of 3/4 inch birch, but it really turned out nice. The only bad thing about it is that I have to detach my router, my Palm router, every time I use it, and that means at some point I'm going to get another Palm router. I'm using a Bosch, but all the same. Anyway, you can see the mark on the wood right here. What I'm going to do is I'm going to route, starting at that mark, a little bit before the mark actually, and go all the way to the end, and then we'll check it out on the table over there on the lane and see if this will work. Okay, let's see if that worked out. Okay, it's on the edge there, which is good. And here's the end piece. Let's see. Put that there. And it looks good. You cannot see the rabbet bit from the end since I've only gone that far. Or the rabbet joint rather. Just like that. Looks like it's good along the way, and there's enough there to glue and hammer into. The problem that I'm worried about is that when somebody picks this thing up, it's so heavy they'll pick it up by here and break it right off. So I really want to make sure that sucker is attached, on there good, which is why I'm even considering using wood screws and going into the side and just plugging them. In fact, I think that's what I'm going to do. So, all right, we'll start working on that. All right, it actually is a really good fit. It fit really well inside that gutter, and when this is attached, this will fit perfectly. And you'll notice that you can't see at the end any hole because I routed it just short of the end. Now, those of you who are watching closely will notice that the screws I'm using are not ordinary wood screws, they're drywall screws. Now, I build my own magic illusions as a magician, and I happen to know, or was given this tip a long time ago, that drywall screws hold so much better and are easy to cover up. These are a really good option when working with this sort of thing, especially I really want this to be tight, and I want it to be nice and strong. So that's what I'm going with. So this is pretty good. Those aren't coming out. Now, in hindsight, I probably should have used drilled the hole and used a Forstner bit. That way I could have plugged these instead of using wood putty. But, oh well. Maybe I will do that with this part. So I've got the sides of the frame and the back done. Now, and it's pretty solid. I gotta say, you wouldn't want to really pick it up by this, like this, but I don't see why you would anyway. Anyway, this are the front pieces of the frame. And you can see they're going to go on like this. You'll notice they're a little bit higher, and that's for one, to keep the pins from flying off the edge of the table. And for two, eventually when I design the pin setter, it's going to go over the top of this to set the pins. So let's see what happens. Okay, so after a little bit of elbow grease and fooling around, measurements and incorrect drilling, I finally got the sides on, and recut this a little bit so it was more of a smooth curve, and that ended up looking good. We've got some place to fill some mistakes where there was some tear out with the router. And obviously I have to fill the holes on the sides. I'm going to do a test with some stains and see how that works out. And now the only thing to do is try it out. So let's see how it works. See if I can do this and hold the camera at the same time. We'll aim that second arrow and... Oh, that was pretty good for our first try. Not too bad. All right. Next, we're gonna try finishing up the edges here, and do a little refining, and then we'll figure out how to put the stain on, or what kind of stain there is that I can use for this, and then we'll get started. Funny thing is, I could stop right here. I could stop with this right here, but I am not satisfied with this. I want to go ahead and create a pin setter that'll be a lot more fun to mess with, and I'm trying to decide on what kind. Based on some old vintage Japanese videos I've seen of pin setters. There's one that sits over the top like this with a hood, a lit up hood, and some lighting. Well, I'd put some LED lighting underneath myself, and then the pin setter goes up and down here, and there's a rake. And the other one is a more simple, a simple version where the pin setter comes over the top like this, and you drop the pins in from the top, and when you lift it, the rakes any dead wood that there is. So I'm still drawing up some plans, but that's what we're going to do next time. See you then.